me a while, but I think I finally realized my problem with the whole entire stalling and having Spider-Man have all these interactions and stuff. It took me till today to realize this, but we know about the danger. They know about the danger. And when that happens, it kind of seems weird when you spend your time wasting time with all these side plots and character traits. Let me put it this way. What if, say, on Arcade Strikers fic, the main six found out about T-Rex right at the beginning of the story? They found out that T-Rex is coming. He's approaching the world. He's going to cause all sorts of destruction and devastation. But then they spend the rest of the story having Danielle and her little sister interact with the ponies, having Megan to search for her past, and all that. And they did that for 20-something chapters instead of dealing with T-Rex. Then it would feel odd, wouldn't it? And then it would feel dull. Here, Spider-Man and the others know about the danger. Spider-Man is losing his powers. We have problems to fix. And what are we doing? We're having Peter do things with Twilight's parents. We know that there's problems out there. But nope, we're getting sidetracked. For no real reason. It's not that I don't mind character interactions, and I don't mind building up your plot, and I don't mind actually having characters talk to one another. I love that. But the problem comes when they know the danger incoming. Then you set up a time limit. And oh yeah, it's a time limit, because you keep reminding us at the beginning. How would I go about this? Oh, you could still have the time limit if you want. But don't have the characters know about it. Hell, you can even have the characters sense that something ominous is approaching, but they don't know what it is. Boom! Foreshadowing. You could foreshadow the approaching darkness. You could tell us something is coming. Or you could tell us something is coming from the bad guys. And you can watch as the bad guys proceed to manipulate things from the shadows. But they won't know. Now they're free and allowed to actually interact and develop as characters. But as it stands, I'm reminded of Secret and Niv 2 review for Nostalgia Critic. Jeremy's been kidnapped! Jeremy's been kidnapped! 5 months later. Oh, wait, no. 2 years later. Wait, I got it! Plop. See? Speaking of Secret and Niv 2, that's another good example. On there, we're suddenly revealed about, after a few years of a time skip where Timmy had time to grow, that Martin's been kidnapped. I even had a letter from my mother as he told me how he's been kidnapped and captured. But I chose to ignore it for about, the past few years. It's just my brother. Nothing really major. And if you want a good example of actually being able to develop a character and develop a good plot while still establishing a time limit and something foreboding happening, the answer's obvious. Gravity Falls. Look at what happened there. None of the characters, except for you, I, and Grunkle Stan, knew about the clockdown timer to when the portal activated. None of us could actually tell. So when the characters had time to interact and had the plot to do other things, we didn't feel rushed because the characters didn't feel rushed because the characters didn't know that there was an emergency. For all they knew, life was perfectly fine. And that's what needs to happen here. We shouldn't be facing a time limit being told, Oh yeah, Gobbledygook coming in about a few years from now, about a few months from now. You might want to look into that. Now it just feels like you're telling me this, and I want to say, holy crap! Discord's coming! Bang down the hatches! Put up force fields! The world has to know! But, who knows? Maybe something's gonna get better. Let's check out what's chapter 27, Parental Guidance. There were some things in life Pierre experienced that would test the mettle of others, and usually he was forced to deal with each situation without any form of preparation. When spur-of-the-moment bank robberies, high-speed chases, random supervillain encounters, and last-minute requests from Aunt May to buy a dozen eggs, Pierre was used to dealing with events thrown in his lap. However, the stallion was more suited to improvise when his life was in danger, for he had managed to live this long without getting himself killed. The same couldn't be said about his personal life. Anything coming at the last moment usually ended in disaster. Pierre stood with a forced smile intact, mentally trying to regulate his quickening heartbeat as his mind registered the sight of Twilight's parents with immense struggle. Ordinarily, a girl would pass off a warning to her boyfriend, or girlfriend as the case may be, regarding her parents, but Pierre chided himself for attempting to use rationality when it came to Twilight, a mare who was unusual in her own right. Hey, don't tell me you don't stand there like a deer in the headlights. Introduce yourself! Pierre's mind screamed, prompting the stallion to shake his head and bring himself back to reality. Slowly but surely, he separated himself from Twilight, although he inwardly begged to be taken aback by their protective grasp. Lump in his throat grew uncomfortably large, making the simple act of breathing nearly impossible to perform. But he managed to force down a swallow before stopping inches away from Twilight. Fighting superpower crazies is much easier to that. Is that even natural? Twilight! Didn't tell me we were visiting you today. If I knew we were, I would bake you a cake. Pierre chuckled, his nervousness apparent in his voice. Small beads of sweat formed along his forehead, clear signs of elevating body temperature. Perhaps out of instinct, Pierre shifted his gaze to the older mare first. Finding a similar version, albeit a bit more mature with notable differences, of his mare friend somewhat relaxing, he extended his hoof out. She likes to keep me on my hooves, I guess. My name's Pierre. Nice to meet you. Pierre remained in that position for what felt like an eternity, unaware that a flush had consumed his cheeks. The entire world fell silent. The only sound to reach his ears being his own heartbeat. In his imagination, Pierre felt himself shrinking. Even the ants could laugh at how small he had grown. But, as if sensing his immense despair, Twilight's mother pressed her hoof against his softly, assenting to gesture. The sky blue softened as he brought the other hoof to the stallion's, using both to soothe out the tremors that coursed through his limb. Poor thing! Relax! She tearfully said, smiling. Relaxing her grip, the older mare brushed a few strands of her violet and white mane behind her ear, or placing her hoof over its chest. As you already heard, I'm Twilight's mother, but you may call me Velvet. Her smile grew in width as he extended her hoof to the stallion by her side. This is my husband, Nightlight. We're both happy to have you. Nightlight approached Pierre. Both stallions were quick to shake each other's hooves. Indeed. I'm happy my little girl's found some pony. Velvet's smile was rather infectious, causing Pierre to mirror her reaction. Twilight found a place by her stallion's side once more, giggling as he chuckled sheepishly. Pierre shifted his gaze between both mares, knowing how much of a resemblance they shared. Father Time and Mother Nature provided a few differences, but the stallion felt his heart swell with a new sense of affection. Leaning over, Pierre pressed his lips against Twilight's cheek, causing the mare to stare about. Peter! Is that for? Her cheeks burned, justifying her gaze to fell on his cheeky grin. I just wanted to let you know how beautiful you are to me. Oh! He said contentedly, before shifting his smile to Velvet, and I have your mom to thank. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, by the way, about my whole entire we need to not know about the danger. What about things like Sentai? Or 3 New Century? You love those. Again, here's the thing. We knew about the danger of Galaxia, but the Senshi didn't know where she was. So we had time for Hataru to go to school and see those awesome cameos. When it comes to Sentai, 9 times out of 10, unless we are dealing with the first season of Power Rangers, which, let's face it, didn't always offer the best explanations. 9 times out of 10, they either couldn't get through the force field, or B, didn't know where the bad guys are. Kind of hard to go after the danger when you didn't know where it was. Hell, Sailor Moon's part of her plot, after she was done getting the Quiz Show, which, of course, as we all know, was the actual plot not getting aired, she nostalgic critic, was simple. Find the enemy's main base. So yeah, they were trying to find it. While they were trying to look for it, they had other plots to deal with. Here, there's no excuse. We're essentially visiting the parents while a time bomb is ticking. What do you think of 24, instead of seeing Jack Bauer investigating all the terrorist activity in one of the episodes, you instead spend an entire episode of him doing his taxes? Twilight thoughtfully poked her hoof into the stallion's side, quickly turning her head to hide her flushed figures. Stop being silly, she murmured, finding it difficult to remove her smile. Keeping her violet irises fixed on the ground, the unicorn placed her hoof over her mouth and cleared her throat. Unaware the pink blush on her cheeks was quite visible. Sorry, Mom. Honey, don't apologize. Velvet practically beamed, her cheery voice matched only by her light giggling. Because of course she would. She gave Pierre a friendly wink. Aren't you a sweet young stallion? Her eyes grew wide and giddy. You're handsome, too. It's nice to see my daughter has lovely taste. Mom! Twilight exclaimed, her voice nearing to a pout. Before the young couple could react any further, the older mare tugged at both ponies insistently with her telekinesis and slowly led them to her abode, all the while earning squeals of protest from Twilight and nervous laughter from Pierre. However, Velvet's brightened demeanor proved greater than their combined will. Come on inside! We can talk as we eat. I want to know everything. Nightlight watched the spectacle unfold with a furrowed brow. His wife sat the young ponies down at the round kitchen table, asking them countless questions while pointing out each dish stood. Keynes emerged from the kitchen, immediately joined the festivities with innocent figure. Spike only watched, laughing at the expense of the young couple. Yet, despite her obviously embarrassed state of mind, Twilight smiled and had not faltered in the least. Ellie's eyes widened once a firm hoof fell over his shoulder. What's on your mind, Dad? Shining Armor whispered, giving the elder stallion a warm yet subtle chuckle. Nellie stood with a furrowed brow, shifting his gaze from his daughter back to his son. Every parent's dream was to see their child grow into a successful adult. Shining Armor was his father's dream come true. Once the captain of the guard, now served as the Crystal Empire's prince, alongside Princess Cadence. Well, if we're going to start using the terminology, technically Prince Consort, but also Cadence shouldn't technically be a princess of the Empire, she should be an empress. But that's splitting hairs. We recently happily married. Nightlight smiled. There was no question his son had found happiness. The questioning frown formed on his face. The idea of his daughter following her brother's example being a bit more difficult to believe. Excuse me? Shaking his head, Nightlight knew the reasons were different. Twilight was very talented, to the max of having been deemed worthy to become Princess Celestia's apprentice. Her skills in magic were unmatched, and her intelligence was vast, especially for her young age. However, such credentials, Twilight was not necessarily the most sociable pony, often choosing books over anything else. While it was fine during her full years, Nightlight grew worried as the training carried over to Twilight's young adulthood. So it was very surprising to hear Twilight had found some pony special. Nightlight closed his eyes and sighed. It was a relief, actually. She spent all her time in the library, finding books more welcome company than ponies. This only served to fuel his curiosity regarding Twilight's sudden interest and love. Whether this was done on a whim or his daughter finally emerged from her cell, Nightlight could not shake its doubts. It's strange, Shining. You just got married, now your little sister's dating some pony? You grew up so fast, he murmured, managing a smile. It quickly dissipated. Line like someone frowned to resurface. You certain this pony is worth it? How do we know he's not just stringing your sister along? You know how dense she is at times. Wow. Just wow. Can't tell if that was insulting or not. Sayonara chuckled. He just carried the same mindset a day ago. Admittedly, he still has reservations, but they were lessened thanks to the encouraging words of those around him. He only wanted to see his sister's feelings, as well as Peter, were truly sincere. Patting his father's shoulder, Sayonara shook his head and shrugged. Guess we'll find out, Dad. His eyes widened as he came to a late realization. Dad, do me a favor. Don't ask those two too many questions. Pierre's still recovering from a coma, and Twilight would kill me if we stressed him out. A coma? By Celestia, what happened? Nelly's jaw fell slightly. He got in an accident with a building. Let's work with that. Shiner glanced aside, paying mind to keep the truth in. Timberwolves. Nearly a half an hour passed. Every pony remained seated around the table, exchanging pleasantries. Spike sat between Twilight and Velvet, chewing on a turquoise diamond without so much a care in the world. Shiny sat next to Nightlight and Cadence with his hoof over her forehead, growing at the tails his parents exchanged with each other regarding himself and his sister. Meanwhile, Pierre was sitting between Twilight and Cadence, keeping his head and voice low as possible, trying his absolute best to avoid attention. Thankfully, the majority of every pony's attention, particularly Nightlight and Velvet's, were both centered on Twilight and Shining Armor. Considering the parents had not seen their children under normal circumstances in quite some time, this reaction was quite understandable. This was exactly the break Peter needed to collect his nerve. While Velvet's illuminating charm eased away a great deal of tension initially, it could not fully eliminate the massive amount of paranoia the stallion carried. Peter's ears remained perked, twitching with unwanted anticipation should Twilight's parents call upon him. He could not compare his current ordeal to the days of old school because, unlike the other children, Peter knew exactly what answers to give his teachers. Right now, the shoe was on the other hoof. While he could easily tell Twilight's parents the truth about his origin, common sense suggested going against that notion. Twilight and Velvet were completely taken aback by their headstrong, socially awkward bookworm daughter started dating some point when history suggested that such a thing would never happen. So it wasn't difficult to imagine their reaction to learning Twilight's cult friend was actually an alien from another dimension. All things considered, Shining Armor took the news amazingly well before. Peter knew he had his friend and all three princesses to thank for that fate. For Twilight's sake, he vowed to tell the truth only to a certain extent, and lie only when necessary. The stallion sighed slowly. It was like his days on Earth all over again, when Peter was forced to lie to everyone around him, regularly to protect his secret identity as Spider-Man. The fact he didn't have to do it as often before made Peter love his new home of Equestria so much more. Still, I could just imagine how they would react. Yes, Miss Velvet, I'm an alien from an alternate dimension. I'll don't look like that, Mr. Nightlight. All the cool kids are doing the same thing nowadays. His mind sneered, tuning the outside world, as it centered on a possible scenario. Speaking of which, I don't think Aunt May will take the news well either. Peter's hoof tapped nervously against the leg of his chair. The stallion knows, thanks to his prolific daydreaming. Look, Aunt May, I know Twilight's a pony. I'm certain the neighbors will have a field day talking about this, and there's a chance Uncle Ben's rolling his grave right now. But hey, she's sentient, so it's totally not okay and not weird. Would it help if I told you she's a fan of literature? Suddenly, something tapped the young stallion on the shoulder, knocking him out of his trance. Peter turned his head in direction of the disturbance and found Cadence with a warm smile on his face. It's so warm here. You're practically shivering, she whispered, placing her hoof over his own, firmly in the hope to end the stallion's erratic trembling. But it proved to be for naught. Peter shivers coursed through the stallion and Alcor's limb. Eating sleeplessly, Cadence removed her hoof and magically asked her seat closer to the stallion snugly. Still nervous, aren't you? Nervous? Me? No way! Peter replied almost too quickly, attempting to ignore how dry his mouth had grown. Unfortunately, like the desert landscape of Saudi Arabia, Peter's body reached a fever pitch. Small beads of sweat began to form along his forehead. He raised over his plate, quickly retrieving a glass full of water. But, due to the severity of his thirst, the stallion downed the entirety of his beverage in one full gulp. Peter quickly glanced over at Cadence and out the corner of her eye, finding the Alcorn with a brow raised, before exhaling softly. Okay, so I'm a little nervous. It's no big deal. After all, first impressions are everything. What do I have to show for mine? Sliding himself across the table until he linked around the handle of a large glass of water. Stanley poured his cold contents in his cup and slowly finished the second drink, sighing out the word, "Nothing." That's not true. Can't. Sorry. That's shaking your head. You're a very nice pony, but you have a nasty tendency to sell yourself short, especially in this story. Placing her hoof over his shoulder, the unicorn glanced at Twilight, who was actively focusing on the tug with her parents, before giving Pierre an affirming nod. Twilight loves you, and you love her. As long as you two are honest with your feelings for each other, there's no reason for any pony to attempt to say otherwise. Once the commotion around the table lessened, namely the vigor of the surrounding conversations, Kate slid her seat an appropriate distance from Pierre's, straightened in her same position. However, the unicorn placed her hoof over the side of her mouth, preventing every pony with the exception of Pierre from hearing her words or reading her lips. She delivered a small sentence mutely, but slowly, allowing the Sally to decipher her lip movements. Just be yourself. Candace winked, probably shifting her attention away from Pierre to her husband, who broke away from his own conversation a moment later. Pierre rolled his eyes, resisting the urge to scoff at Kate's simple advice, but his mouth had betrayed his mind's accents, smiling with a grand sense of relief. Throughout his life, Aunt May and Uncle Ben raised Pierre upright, teaching him that, no matter the circumstances, he should always be himself, and never change to impress anybody. Granted, he remained a wallflower following their advice, but by the end of the day, especially where he stood now, Pierre won the heart of the best girl imaginable, because he didn't attempt to be someone he wasn't. Sliding himself under the table, where he constantly searched for Twilight's own, before finally succeeding, Pierre grinned softly. If he could be honest with Celestia, Cadence, Luna, and the rest of his friends, Twilight's parents were certain to receive the same treatment. As reminded him that the entire truth was not necessary at the moment. Sooner or later, it might be time for Velvet and Nightlight to learn about Pierre's origin from Earth and his connection to Spider-Man. However, with a simple, reaffirming nod, he knew what was more important today. After all, he was Peter Pony Parker first, Spider-Man second. I can't stress how much of a relief this is for us, Nightlight said, staring at his wife. Pierre tilted his head to the side. How so? We were worried Twilight was never going to date some pony. Nightlight said, speaking for Velvet. Starlight stated, pausing to place her hoof under her chin. Honestly, as much as he read, we thought Twilight would sooner marry a book than a pony. Tells you so, Sayama whispered to Keynes, immediately earning a stiff poke at the side of response from his wife. Spike ceased his chewing for a moment, chuckled. I knew she read too many books. Spike, despite having a vivid pink flush on her cheeks, saw both her brothers a glare. Excuse me for strengthening my intellect. Pierre snickered as he placed his hoof over Twilight's. She's a bookworm, but it's something I really like about her. Nothing's cuter than a girl who can provide the answer to any equation with ease. Twilight's ears fell to the side, and her smile grew in width. Aw, that's sweet. Blinking, Pierre turned to the mayor's parents. Although I think she's cheating on me with the wonders of science and magic book. She calls with way more than me. Flustered, Twilight ran to her hoof at the stallion's side, and Velvet giggled at the sight, while Nightlight smiled. Pierre raised his host offensively, and had to plead for his mare not to tear him apart. Surprisingly, Twilight folded her host across her chest and poked her lips out in a mock sense of defeat. However, her expression stiffened when Pierre softly fell on her shoulder. The Miss Angel flushed smiled. I'm kidding. I know Twilight wouldn't do something like that. He chuckled, leaning over to his side. His lips merely met the side of the mare's cheek. But he turned back to Twilight's parents with a coy grin. She's seen the magical world in physics books for sure. I think I even saw her kiss her. Ow! The entire table burst into laughter as Twilight stuck Peter's side for the second time, her eyes narrowly on the stallion. Oh, ha ha. Peter suffered for a moment. Oh, I read the new Frontiers in Magic Technology already. Guess that means we'll have to resume our lessons in the morning? Finally have an idea how to regulate the polarity issues in my output. You did? Twilight's voice heightened, a hint of excitement rising from within. That'll make the lessons easier tomorrow. But just to be safe, we should read magic to practical science tonight and together and share our briefing. Sayama closed his eyes and sighed, unable to contain a smile. Well, I'm starting to see why you like him so much. Peter can practically keep up with your intellect. His brow furrowed, a concerned frown formed on his face. I just hope he isn't as manic as you. I'm not manic! Twilight sighed defensively. Everybody stared at her, haunting the mayor's brow to lower to a glare. She turned to her cold friend. Peter, am I manic? Peter opened his mouth, but hesitated to speak, knowing his words had to be chosen carefully. However, his mouth ignored his mind's demand and spoke freely. Well, you can be rather excitable at times. Needless to say, Peter was given an earful, but not in the sense everybody was expecting. Usually Twilight was quick to anger, yet despite Peter teased several times, he responded kindly. Zeke giggled. Well, we'll have to wake up really early tomorrow for our magic lessons. How does 5:30 sound? That's what? Peter waved his nose frantically. Oh, come on, can we talk this out? Maybe over dinner? Twilight's coldest smile grew with, we're already talking and having dinner. Scratching the back of his head at the late realization, the stallion tickled. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Peter pressed his toes together in a begging manner, his eyes growing to the size of a puppy's. You're not manic in the slightest. He reached out and grasped the mare's hose gently, lowered his head, managing to laugh half-heartedly. You're just unusually cruel at times. Natalie watched both ponies with a stern expression in his eyes. As their conversation progressed, it steadily softened while a smile formed on his face. Twilight often polarized, more so repelled every pony with her strict, no-nonsense demeanor. Even as a foal, she had the tendency to take every situation as serious as possible, including the most menial task. While Nightlight was proud of his sense of duty and responsibility, he wished she could learn to loosen up, especially when it came to the company of others. Success was every pony's dream, but it was otherwise empty if one couldn't share it with any pony. However, here she was laughing with some pony. Granted, Twilight still had strict tendencies, but in Nightlight's eyes, this relationship was undeniable progress, and a step for a right direction for his daughter. Whether she knew it or not, a pink flush stained Twilight's cheeks, immensely to the point where it was quite visible to any pony. It refused to dissipate, as if it were a natural, physical feature of hers. Okay, here's the other problem with this whole meet the parents thing. In any other story, this might be a conflict, this might be nerve-wracking, this might be nervous, you know, like with, say, Nyx and how that worked. But the problem with doing it here is we've kind of spent the past few chapters either A, telling us what a Celestia's gift to the world Peter has been, or B, how everybody likes Peter, or C, we've established that Peter's in a pretty good situation here. So, for him to actually have any conflict with Twilight's parents would kind of defeat everything that's happened. And even then, they would be possessed of the wrong. So, there's really no conflict here. Hell, in 3 New Century, you knew there wasn't going to be any conflict, so thank God Arcade Striker decided not to give us any conflict with Ataru's parents suddenly realizing, oh hey, our daughter is dating an alien from another dimension. Granted, I would still have loved to have seen Haruka unleash a world shaking on Anakin for even daring to touch her daughter. But that wouldn't make sense since Haruka knows who Anakin is. You see the problem here? There is no real conflict. We just devoted an entire chapter to literally Twilight's parents going, he's a good boy. We approve. Now I know what you're thinking. You're trying to tell me, but in Fall of Starfleet, you had Twilight have problems trying to think about her reaction to her parents. Yes, because that is Twilight's character. It's who she is. Twilight would be nervous, and she would go through at least 5 different scenarios of how she would probably tell her parents, hey, I'm back to life, and I'm resurrected, and I'm perfectly fine now. Here, there is no such conflict, because, well, we all know what's going to happen. But then again, any real conflict should have came from Twilight as well. But we didn't see anything from Twilight's perspective. All we saw was from Peter's. It was a sign of her feelings, but Twilight's change in demeanor was more blatant as a sign of her attachment to Peter. Nellie chuckled. It wasn't subtle, but his clumsy, cumbersome daughter was never known to be graceful. Whenever Peter looked in her direction, where passing by a glance of focused gaze, Twilight always responded in kind, depending on the situation. It was the center of her attention, meaning he was possibly on edge whenever they were in the same vicinity each other. Natalie stole a glance at his wife and smiled widened. Velvet was exactly the same when they first started dating. Twilight and Velvet were nearly mirror images of each other. Natalie continued to recognize his daughter was currently showing signs that his wife did years ago. Oh shoot, she's in heat! Her smile, always warm and welcoming, was brighter, illuminating with a hint of happiness that could rival the Lady of the Sun. Twilight was never the affectionate type. She used to keep others at a distance. But that seemed to have changed, as he practically giggled with delight every time Pierre held up her hoof. The symptoms were there. Pierre was at the center of Twilight's mind, finding ways to make her smile and relish her touch. Natalie closed his eyes and nodded. Twilight was truly in love, and her father refused to end something so wondrous. Of course, he still has reservations about Pierre, and even more questions to ask. What were his hobbies? Why had he not discovered his special talent yet? There were several others, but Nightly would save them for another time. Right now, he only wanted to enjoy watching his daughter mature into an adult a lot longer. 6 in the morning, but that's still so early! Pierre whined, watching his host cross over his head erratically. So I huffed. It's never too early to broaden your intellect. Johnny Armor and Spike continued to laugh at Pierre's expense, while Candace and Velvet sat with their chins cupped at their hooves. Hey... Doing at the young couple. I just... You notice the problem here. You know who's the only perspective we've seen so far that's had a problem or had reservations? Nightlight. Who's the only one who's been thinking about everything? Nightlight. Does Velvet have an opinion? Does Velvet have something to say? No. Congratulations, you're misinterpreting the feminist angle of a show that's predominantly female. It was progress, but Star still had a ways to go. However, he felt a bit more comfortable about the young stallion that stole Twilight's heart. What he was doing, Natalie could only hope he would continue to change his daughter for the better. They're the same, Lyra murmured, removing the picture from her notebook, wadding it up, and throwing it behind her shoulder at the unusually tall pile of crumpled pieces of paper. They have to be. Lyra, why don't you come back to bed, please? Her room, usually tidy and organized, was the embodiment of chaos. Several different pictures of Spider-Man lay scattered throughout the abode, each with various comparison notes etched into them. Lyra scrolled through every picture she had found for days on end, evident by large bags formed under her yellow irises. The mare's mane was quite mangled, an obvious sign she cared more for her research than appearance at the moment. The way he stood and moved, it was not normal. Like the beings of old and individuals she saw the night of their first dragon attack, Spider-Man exhibited so many human-like tendencies. Lyra was more than determined to expose the truth. Sadly, many deemed her rather eccentric, borderline obsessive in her task. Mara sighed. In her excitement, he realized he was too late that tackling Spider-Man broad daylight was not the wisest of strategies, especially as he lacked the evidence to prove her theories were correct. Why am I here? I hate this, a human assessed Lyra! After her embarrassing exit from Manhattan, Lyra retreated back to Ponyville and focused on what little proof she had already. Unfortunately, Spider-Man was rather discreet and rarely appeared whenever danger wasn't present. Yet, there was still a chance. After spotting that strange pony at the gala, the one who sat like a human, Lyra noted to keep a keen eye on him as well. Luckily, after spotting with him dancing with Twilight Sparkle at the end of the gala, it was easy to assume that they were in close proximity. That accusation was spot on, as the pony lived with Twilight Sparkle, but that was unusual, considering he just moved in with her recently. However, Ponyville was a large village. Ha! And almost every pony was recognizable. No pony had even heard of Peter Pony Parker. Lyra's brow furrowed. Like Spider-Man, his movements were rather odd, and more human than pony. Coincidentally, these two appeared at Ponyville around the same time. As he believes a coincidence, it could not have been given a second thought, but Lyra was a fashionable girl and didn't put much stock a chance. Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Lyra, using her magic, levitated a photo of the hero close to her face, and used her hoof to trace along the features. Same colored mane, same short and stubby tail, same movements, same stance. Her voice bounced off the wall, growing and falling with each punctuation. They're the same pony. Of course they are. I mean, giggling evilly, the aquamarine mare rubbed her hose together. He's a human. If I can find Peter, I can find out the truth out of him. Speaking around her chair, Lyra halted and proceeded to bounce happily in place. You hid from me long enough. Tomorrow, we'll begin to hunt. Ha! There's been ugly laughter echoed throughout her entire home, even reaching the outside walls. Sadly, her temporary roommate upstairs was forced to listen to her friend's growing insanity. But once her bloodshot, mulberry eyes peeked from underneath the sheets and found that her clock read 6:05 a.m., Octavia, what? Her roommate is Bonbon! Her girlfriend is Bonbon! Deal with it! Octavia slammed her pillow over her dark gray head, nothing wanting to do with sense of pity. Once she woke, the mayor promised to see the situation through. But for now, Octavia only wished that Lyra wouldn't go too far in her fencer. To sell aside, by Celestia's name, she knew that was only wishful thinking. Now, I know that last part seemed to come rather fast, but I do have a reason. I hate human-obsessed Lyra written badly!